Hey everybody, it's Sackett, and I'm coming to you with our first episode of a podcast that my friend Madeline and I decided to start called The Frontlines, where we talk about frontline hiring, high volume hiring, all the hiring that we basically ignored for the better part of the last 50 years. And we just expected them to show up as soon as we posted a job. Madeline, welcome. Obviously, we're doing this together. Introduce yourself to everybody, the millions of listeners that we already have on our first episode.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, everybody. My name is Madeline Laurano. I am the founder of a company called Aptitude Research, and we do research on the HR tech market.
Nice. I'm Tim Sackett. I own and run a company called HRU Tech Resources. I'm a Nepo baby. My mother started that 45 years ago. And then I've taken over and run it the last 15. But we also both we write and we do research. We do all this stuff within the space of hiring and talent. I've written a couple of books. I want to start here though, Madeline, because you and I, people are going to go, well, why are these idiots talking about frontline hiring? What's our experience? I ran TA for Applebee's, so we hired 150,000 plus, kind of frontline workers on an annual basis. I've worked at big health systems where I guess we could consider a lot of those people front lines, but it was high volume in terms of nurses because I hired over 1,000 nurses a year, and all the way in between. Also, we've both worked frontline jobs. And so I want to start there with you of what's your best frontline worker story?
Oh, this is a good one. I started working when I was very young, probably 11, 12, working for just kind of local
child labor.
Child labor. It was all these, illegal activities. No, but my first real job was as a bus girl at a restaurant in our town. And I worked nights and weekends, all the hours that nobody else wanted, and basically had to put bread on the table and do dishes and bring everyone water. And it was very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Even for, not a lot of work, but you're dealing with obviously customers that might not be happy, and you're dealing with managing the dynamics of a very fast-paced environment. And so that was my first experience. I worked at a local bookstore. I worked at, I was a lifeguard forever. So that was, another kind of frontline worker, hourly worker role. But my first experience, I think, was that. And there was so much drama. There was so much drama with, kind of even how tips were handled at that time.
Little tip share.
Yeah, tip share. We got nothing as bus people, but if you had a nice waiter or waitress that wanted to give you a portion of what they got that evening, that was how that worked. So that was my first experience.
I think I'm wired a little bit differently in terms of my first job was working at a local hamburger place in the mall of the city in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Woodland Mall. Shout out to anybody that hung out in Woodland Mall in the late 80s, early 90s. It was Mr. Fables. So that was short for Mr. Fabulous. And they made literally smash burgers before anyone called them smash burgers. And I remember I got a job I started the job the day after I turned 16. I applied before and they said well, hey, we can't have you. So literally they scheduled me the very next day and started this is the best story I think I've ever had because it's your first day of work and they hey, we're going to throw you on the fryers. And I was with this fat kid that was probably 2 years older than me, but he seemed like he was 20 years older than me because he had experience, right? He knew everything and he had probably only worked there probably a year or something, but he was training me and he literally dumped a 5-pound bag of chicken tenders into the fryer. And I thought, oh, he's just teaching me how to do chicken tenders because we also did hand dipped onion rings. And that was the big thing he had to teach me how to do. And he ate 5 pounds of chicken tenders as he trained me how to make onion rings. He ate the entire bag of chicken tenders. And I was just what is going on here? This is insane. Never even offered me one. I didn't get one. And he's like, nope. It's just, these are mine. Get your own. But I remember loving, I remember laughing so hard at work constantly. There was a dichotomy there of I was just there nights, weekends, shifts that nobody wanted. I loved the Saturdays, during holidays when it was completely insane, crazy because the time went so fast.
Yeah.
but then I also worked with these people that were frontline full time. Like this was their job. This is how they paid bills. And back then it never hit me like that, right? You just like, oh, like Ted or Mary and these guys over here, they're like the OGs, right? They know where, like how everything is done, and not really realizing like, oh, they're actually paying their rent based on the money they're
Right.
making here. And
Right.
I was just, some dumb kid dinking around, having fun, making a joke of the whole world, in terms of, not really taking it serious. And so like for me, it was a different kind of thing. But like that's the weird kind of dichotomy we have within this workforce, right? Is you have every generation. You have retirees coming back just to work a few hours. Like,
Absolutely. And I mean, what we found too, I mean, what I found when I was, had this experience at this restaurant is it was a lot of families too. There would be husbands and wives that worked there.
yeah,
Husband maybe was a bartender. His wife might have been a waitress, and the kids, in my grade were also, working as busboys and girls as well. And so it was really not just, this is sort of the career of individuals, but it's also in many ways, even if they didn't own the business, a family business in a lot of ways.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Because it's kind of like, again, most of the like again, locally, like a lot of that hiring we talk about that is like it's referral based. It's, oh, I have friends or I have family, and you just kind of pull in and you end up with these kind of weird, kind of collaborations of people that like it's like, oh, this one runs really well because like the mom works there and she has 4 people she brought in that she knows that she can basically mom. It's like she's not even the manager, but she can mom them to death. And it's like, oh, okay. Um, so
It's
Madeline,
interesting.
we by the way, I want to shout out, and I should have opened with this, is like we are presented by Workday and probably the best frontline hiring solution on the planet in Paradox, and thankful for them to allow us to do this and give us the space and the time and the equipment to like come and talk about this. One of the things that we want to make sure that we get out there first, you and I are super close friends. We probably text every single day with each other. We probably talk
Multiple
a
times
few
a day.
times a week.
Yeah.
Um, so people will see that when they see us interact. I think we're very close from that standpoint. Um, but we also, when we talked about doing this, we wanted to do it in a way that we could talk about, because a lot of the podcasts in our space is like, oh, interview, 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 and it's all interviewing other like people leaders, right? And how they do it, and it's cool. Like again, I learned from that. We want to do that. We will have those for sure because we want to talk about the people that are actually doing it. But we also want to talk to the people that are in the actual front lines that are going through the nightmare that we put them through sometimes. And I'm not saying that there's companies out there doing really, really good things, and that's cool. And we'll talk about those. But there's also companies that are still like literally making it a nightmare for somebody to actually apply to a job. And we want to talk to those people.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you look at, I mean, even some of the research we do, you look at frontline hiring and the interview process takes 2 to 3 weeks. So why is that happening? So it's probably the most important conversation in our industry that we don't talk about enough. And there isn't a dedicated podcast to that. That's why we really wanted to focus on this. We
Yeah.
started doing research at Aptitude on the frontline workforce right before the pandemic. So probably end of 2019, early 2020. I talked a lot at that time to Josh Seacrest, who was running talent acquisition at McDonald's. He is now
Yeah.
at Paradox by Workday. And, Josh was kind of sharing their approach to technology and saying, look, traditional technology doesn't work for the frontline workforce. We need a completely different path. He did this full transformation, bought Paradox, invested in, Shaker and a lot of other providers to help build out a very different approach. A lot of
Yeah.
organizations have copied that and, mirrored that moving forward. But at that time, we called it the forgotten workforce. And I'd love to hear what you think. I don't think it's the forgotten workforce anymore. I just don't think we're talking about it in the right way.
Well, you and I get to see like all like the vast majority of solutions that are on the market. And I think when we talk about like AI today and everyone's like, oh, what AI tools, what AI tools, most of the proven AI tool use cases that we see. So when I say use cases, a company that's actually put this in play, they're actually using it, and it actually has had like major impact. I had just interviewed Marriott's global head of TA, Jessica Lee, a few weeks ago, and she said it went from literally days, I mean, like, multiple days to minutes in terms of getting somebody to apply to interview. And I think when somebody goes and we talk about those frontline workers, and again, high volume frontline, there's a little combination there. For the most part, if you're talking low skill, no skill workers, when they decide they want a job, like they're going to get a job that day. Like that needs to be minutes, right? Where if
Instantly.
someone applies, you better have somebody that actually interacts with them right away. And the only way to really scale that is kind of through AI. And so those are the tools that have been proven, which I think are really cool from that standpoint. Um, I do think though, up until the last like 8 years or so, and really, I mean, when Paradox hit the market, like it was something we were all kind of were like, oh my gosh, like this is groundbreaking. And now it's like everyone's just copying because you copy what is great and what's working. And so you see everybody coming out with their kind of high volume hiring solution, which is basically the same kind of flow, right? It's like, hey, how do we use AI to get a candidate to apply super fast, minutes, and then how do we actually get them to like schedule themselves for an interview in minutes, and then hopefully you're smart enough as an organization to get them to actually show up that day, maybe within hours, if not within a few, because if you wait for a week, they're gone. You're not going to get them.
No, absolutely. It was groundbreaking because the alternative is you're waiting for an email that's going to go to somebody that does not have an email address.
It's a black
And then
hole.
you're expecting somebody to take public transportation, spend money that could
Yeah.
be used for lunch, could be used for anything else, to come in at a time that a manager might not even be in a store or a restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a huge ask. It's not thinking about what their experience is at all. And this really changed the game, and it not only improves efficiency for employers, but I mean, that experience for a frontline worker has completely changed.
Completely. I did a big recruiting diagnostic for a large like global manufacturer, and this is 5 years ago. And they had it didn't matter if you were the vice president for finance or if you were the hourly warehouse worker, you went through the exact same system to get hired. And it was the exact same process. And again, we still know companies today doing the same thing through a traditional ATS. Hey, we have one workflow. It was 15 different screens for the hourly worker
It's
they
crazy.
had to go through. They actually had to build an application, like the resume, even though they were an hourly worker. And then the last step was actually having them upload their resume. You're like, what do we? You just had them build this. Why would they have to upload it? Like it was insane to me, and it was like literally 27 minutes for the people in the company to do it, and they knew what they were doing to actually complete. And so a lot of their facilities, like the plant managers, would go, well, no, they have to walk in here and like shake the front desk girl's hand and ask for an application, and they went back old school that way. And I was just like, I'm asking them questions like, what kid 19, 20 years old is going to walk in here and ask for an application? Like, what is this, 1974? Like, that doesn't happen anymore. You have to give them the ability to text and, apply through text. And
Do
so
it
for
through their
me,
phone. It has to be
um,
through their phone.
like again, how we're seeing this, and I think most, like you would agree, probably most of the Fortune 500 that does high volume hiring is probably there. We see a lot of healthcare that are switching to this, but it's still, I don't know. Like, do you have any data around like what percentage of like the Fortune 5,000 would even be using tools like this?
Yeah, and we're doing some research right now on that. We'll do a whole podcast on
Yeah,
this and ask that question. But it's not as many as you'd think. I mean, the opportunity is still there. It's tremendous to be able
yeah,
to flip this whole model. A lot of organizations are very interested in it. I think that do a lot of high volume hiring. We were just at an event, not too long ago, the
yeah,
two of us, and I had posed a question to the audience about, do you have high volume hiring needs? Do you hire frontline workers? And like 70% of the audience had some frontline hiring. That's a big shift too. I mean, so it's not just these, Fortune 100s or Fortune 500s that do have traditional frontline hiring. Now
yeah.
every organization, it just in all these different industries have some high volume or frontline hiring needs.
Well, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better because we know, like, obviously we have a lot of onshoring for manufacturing, see huge manufacturing growth within the U.S. And that, by the way, it takes when you onshore like that, it takes years for those plants and that like infrastructure to get built. So like we're just starting to see the beginning of this. We're going to see much more of this kind of frontline manufacturing hiring that takes place. We also have obviously a huge influx of data center build. So you're like skilled trades, like the turnover of the skilled trades industry is insane. And so people have to move really fast in terms of what they hire. And they also have to get away from the desktop, laptop, traditional thinking of, oh, someone's going to be sitting on a laptop or a desktop filling out an application. No, it's going to be on their phone only. I mean, that's the other thing is like there's stats out there. They're like, I think like 85% of all frontline workers only access the internet or potentially like applying for a job through their mobile device. Like they don't even have a laptop or a tablet or a desktop. They only have their mobile device. And if you
Or
can't
an
figure
email
out how to
address.
get people
No
to
email.
apply, you're dead, you know? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
even an email address, right? Like like again, some of them are like, "Hey, I'm just using, my cell phone number." It's like, are you allowing them to kind of like, apply through that?
right. It has to
It's
be so simple. So this is funny. I kind of want to do this again for our podcast, but probably 7 years ago, I had both of my kids when Paradox first came out. Someone sent me a link and said, test this out. And I put
yeah,
both the kids in front of my laptop and said, or on the phone or whatever, and said,
do
apply
it.
for a job. And we went to another site where they could apply online. They had no idea what to do. But I just left them alone on the phone, and they both, were applying for
Yeah.
barista positions and got far along in the process. They knew exactly what was happening.
Yeah, and they got interviewed, and now they're working. They've been in
Yeah,
Starbucks
they've
for
been at Starbucks for a long
5
time.
years now.
That's really
They're managing locations.
exactly. So when you think, I mean, there's so much that we can do with this podcast. We both are so passionate about this topic that
Yeah,
I love we're doing it together. If you think about like top two things you want to cover, not
yeah.
necessarily guests, but just top two topics you want to focus on in two different episodes, what would it be?
One would be I'm still it amazes me, and it's because of the lack of knowledge. So and I don't like put that on like as a negative towards the industry, but like I still hear people that are like, well, we would never do AI apply because you don't know that chatbot could say anything to our applicants, and we don't want that. And I'm like, oh, Pookie, sorry, like you don't even understand how AI works. Like it's incapable of actually, saying something. I say that, and then just today, so Adam Godson is the CEO of Paradox by Workday. On Chipotle, in their ordering system, had an issue today where somebody actually did a Python coding thing with their chatbot. So like again, Chipotle decided, hey, for our ordering system, we're going to use some tech. That tech was built on a public model. And thus, that public model, you could ask it questions that you normally couldn't ask a customer service kind of agent like AI. And like, again, the one thing about Paradox is being built on, kind of a private model. It doesn't have that ability, right? It doesn't know that there's Python coding out there. Like it would completely revert back. And then even the guardrails that are built around. So like for me, really digging into those people that why is there this pushback? Why are you still hesitant? Because all the data, every single person that turns this stuff on is immediately like their time to fill crap. I mean, like 70% better. The amount of applicants that get through are exponentially more, like 3, 4, 5x more applicants that get through. Like everything just speeds up and the quality and everything kind of happens faster. So you're kind of like, again, is it just an educational side if they don't understand? The other piece of it is I really want to talk to, and you and I like both have like shared this with each other. I want to talk to real people in the field and have them like do that side by side, have them actually apply and really just ask them a million questions around what is it about this or this job, or what would you rather change? What would you rather see? Because that's the other thing I don't think from a leadership standpoint, when I talk to people who are turning all these tools on, they might go out and actually talk to some current employees they have, but they're actually not really ever talking to their candidates and saying, hey, what about this? Is this better? Is this worse? How would you do it differently? And I know the companies building this stuff do this not as much as they should. That's the other side, right? They just assume it's like, oh, I'm a software engineer and I applied to jobs and it sucks. And so I'm going to build this thing. And you're like, have you applied to be like a barista? Have you applied to be a warehouse worker? Like, no, they haven't. So in their mind, even though they're building something, could it be even better? And so I think talking to those people, I have a real interest in
Yeah, absolutely.
those people. Like oh, like I was one of these people. Like I hired these people. I worked on it with these people.
I know I could be one of these people in a year. We don't know. So
Yeah, and maybe sooner. Yeah,
yeah, maybe sooner. Yeah, for me, I think I want to do, I mean, I love data and I love the research. We're doing
yeah,
some research on this, so I want to do a deep dive into that. But I also want to look at just research, statistics, BLS data, look at what the demographics are right now with frontline workers, look at the whole hiring process, and do like a deep dive, an episode deep dive into data. The
Yeah.
other piece that I definitely want to do, you brought this up, is around the demographics. Like we found right before the pandemic, there was a large, I forget the percentage, but a large percentage of hourly workers that were over the age of 50.
Yeah.
And I want to see if that's flipped at all. I have a 16-year-old that wants an hourly job this summer, and he's struggling with the whole, like, he doesn't know what to do, where to apply, if anyone will hire him. Most people want seniors and college students, they don't want 16-year-olds. So I want to look at just the demographics of what that experience is like.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated by it. I did my master's thesis with women in leadership in a retail setting. So what I found too, which I thought was like so fascinating, was if I had a female leader, number one leader, so general manager of a location of a store, the demographic of that workforce was way more female than those that were non-female leaders. So it's like even that of going out to organizations on frontline leadership side of saying, hey, what does the makeup look like? And what we know still today is that you have this weird makeup of like 70% of the workforce and a lot of frontline workers, like especially like around hospitality and restaurants and stuff, are female, but it's flipped upside down when you get to leadership. And you're like, well, wait a minute. If you truly want more females into this kind of frontline leader, like frontline role of workers, then we have to like start to build more frontline female leaders. And thus, it's going to happen where they'll actually hire more females. And there's still like, I mean, when I was at Applebee's, like we struggled to get like our managers to understand, like, no, you can actually have females on the line as cooks. You can have female bartenders, like they can handle it. And that was like, you would have these old school, like, guys that are like managers, like going, well, I don't know if Madeline can handle a Saturday shift on the bar. Like she'll be fine. Like,
Yeah, she'll be okay. She's been doing this. Yes, I know that's very interesting to me as well. Um, the other one I throw in there too is around internal mobility because it's so interesting. It's so important when you think about frontline hiring, but it's so different. Like frontline workers don't necessarily look at internal mobility like I need to be a manager or I need to be in a leadership position. Sometimes it's I need a different shift. I need a different schedule. I can't work nights anymore. So how does that mobility work? I can't go to my manager and tell him I don't want to work nights anymore,
yeah, the
where
flexibility around this, right?
flexibility and
Yeah.
to be able to manage that through technology. And sometimes again, it's just around schedules. So that's going to be very different than how a company's looking at internal mobility for their knowledge workers.
100%. Yeah, I love it. All right. So that's what we're doing. The front lines, Madeline and Tim, keep checking back. We're going to have a multiple of these episodes. If you think of somebody or something you want to talk about, like hit us up. We're on LinkedIn. We're easy to find. We're not hard. And we'll be ready for the next one. So Madeline, thank you for being a part of this. Also, thank you, obviously, to Workday and Paradox for helping us present the front lines and getting this all to you guys. And we can't wait to do more of these. We'll check everybody out soon.
The front lines.